Conversation around money and art is a tricky one. What happens when folks aren't buying your art? How much should you really be charging? And why does talking about this sometimes feel so icky? Today we have with us Amie McNee, who is the author of We Need Your Art and the voice behind the wildly popular brand Inspired to Write, where she helps this global audience of creatives dismantle their limiting beliefs and finally start taking their work very seriously. In this episode, you're going to hear why Amie believes that charging for your art is actually anti-capitalist, the conspiracy around keeping artists small and poor, why you might want to plug your ears to traditional marketing advice, and well, I'll kick it to Amie for this one.
Fuck the niche.
This, my friends, is Amie McNee. Oh, P.S. There is quite a bit of language in this, so if you have little ones around you, you might want to plug in their ears.
Art is leadership. Art is political, it is powerful, it is transformative, it is revolutionary. It's not as frivolous as we think it is. When I say I'm committed to art, I'm saying that I'm committed to changing myself and changing the world. Like, it's such a serious fucking profession. Marketing is art, and you will have a way of doing it that is entirely unique to you. And we get to do it however the fuck we want. Please break every marketing rule you've ever heard, because there is no one way to do this.
You said trading money for art is anti-capitalist.
Yeah, should we get into it?
Just go.
So I have a funny backstory. My parents are Australian, which is where they're based now. But I was brought up outside of London and then ended up moving back to Australia, and now I'm back. So I'm 50-50.
The accents are so similar to me.
Yeah, and I have a very odd accent. It's very mixed.
Yeah, I'm like country. I don't know if you hear that.
I love your accent. I love it.
It's so funny being a podcaster, because sometimes people are like, can you repeat that? Because I have no idea what you just said.
No, I love it. Feels very like I could listen to you for a long time. You're so glad you're podcasting.
You're sweet. Thank you. Amie McNee with us. I've been mildly harassing you for a year now to have you on the show, because I just love and adore you and what you stand for. I think it is food for the soul. Food for the soul. Your message goes so much deeper than creativity. It just really touches on what it means to be a human being and be fully alive in this world. And I'm so happy for you and your success and continued success. It's going to be pouring into your life. Thank you for taking a minute out of your day to talk to us, Amie.
Heather, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for harassing me. Thank you for following through and making sure that I get to speak to you, because I'm very grateful I'm here today.
Let's go. When you're sitting on an airplane and somebody's like, they're like me, because I talk to people on the airplane. I'm one of those annoying people. And they're like, so what do you do? How do you explain to a stranger in just a moment what your work entails?
No matter how successful I become, this question still frightens the fuck out of me. I didn't ask if I can swear. Is it okay that I swear? Okay, cool. It does. It frightens me a lot. I find it so hard to contain what it is that I do. I find it so hard to put boundaries and parameters and to make it easily understandable to anybody who isn't a creative, to make them understand what it is I do. For a very long time, I just lied, because I found the question so confronting. Because for a long time before I was really into this journey, I would say, I would try it, and I would say, I'm an author. And they would say, oh, wow, have I read anything that you've written? Who's your publisher? And these follow-up questions were very triggering for me. And even now, when I do it, I still find it hard. So every time someone asks me that question, Heather, they get a different answer. And I'm just trying and playing with different ways of describing Amie and my essence and what it is I'm here to do in this world. I am an author. I tell stories. I write fiction. I also write a lot about the creative journey, what it means to be a human and to make art, to be vulnerable, to create things. I speak a lot about and take care of the artists in this world.
Yeah. And you've been doing it for a hot minute. I think I've been following you for a couple of years, but then doing some research on you, learned that it's been over 10 years now that you started your Instagram platform. And that's something I don't want to just like gloss over, because we think, oh, I'm just going to make shit, put it out there, and it's going to pop. But if it doesn't pop, that means I suck, without realizing that such a huge part of the process is just this stubbornness, man, of doing the work over and over again. And you're quite a bit in, 10 years in. What else is important to learn about your story before I start talking to you about some money? What else is important for us to know about you?
I like that even without you really, like without us having a huge discussion, Heather, you can see that there's a stubbornness in me. And there is a tenacity and an unwillingness to live a life that doesn't sparkle, that doesn't like delight me. And it has been 10 years of me really pushing this life of, I want to be a creative. I want my life to be filled with stories and using my words and expressing myself and being seen and getting attention and connecting with people. Like, this is what I wanted. And that I needed a huge amount of absolutely, this is what I'm going to get, like stubbornness in order to see me through this journey, because it is long and it has taken a long time. And that is a really important part of what we do as all artists. And I know that this as well, Heather, like, there's a part of you that just has to be extremely tenacious, extremely stubborn, and say, no, this is what I want and this is what I'm going to get. I think another part of it is that kind of delusional, like big dreamer energy. It's a big part of it for me as well. Like I say a lot, if you want to be a successful creative, you have to be unrealistic and delusional. And so there's that big dreamer part of me, that childlike part of me that's, what if I could do this? What if I wanted to do this? And I encourage her and I allow her to dream big and I allow her to say crazy shit. And I entertain it and I drag it out of her and I say, yeah, okay, let's do that. Let's make it bigger. So yeah, that and a fair amount of just stubborn, no, this is what I want to do is a big part of how I got where I am today.
Was there like a breaking point though? Because I know you've shared before about at the beginning, you're like reluctant to say, hey, I'm an author and I just want to tell stories, and all the other people are getting like grown up jobs and things weren't necessarily popping and stuff. Was there like a breaking point for you where you dug your feet into the ground?
Yeah. There were probably like, there's been dozens, but there was a very low point where I'd lost my job. I'd gotten fired as a waitress. I was in tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt, credit card debt. And I was just moved in with my in-laws and I was like very low point. And all my friends were getting real jobs. And I had this huge story that was like, oh, why can't I grow up? What's wrong with me? Why am I such a child? Like, why doesn't anyone else want this life? Like, why am I fighting so hard for this? And I was very depressed. And I decided to pick up a journal. And I was like, I have nothing else going for me. I'm no job, no money, no dignity. I'm just going to journal every morning and see where I go. For me, this was a huge turning point, because through the pages of the journal is where I started creating the life that I wanted. I started creating the internal life I wanted and the external life I wanted. And so that was a huge moment for me. And I have the date. It was April 16th, 2018, I started journaling. I've been journaling every single day since. And you wouldn't recognize me, Heather. Like, no. I have just unbelievable, the magic that has occurred in those 2000 and something days.
I just went on a little retreat. It was Elizabeth Gilbert was there. It's author, Eat, Pray, Love, Big Magic, all that. And I'm not crying. My makeup is smearing my eyes. They hurt. So I'm like, you're like, damn, this girl's emotional. But one of the things she kept emphasizing, because people kept coming up and they're like, how do I get more creative and how do I do this? And she just kept emphasizing spiritual practice, like guard. And what that means for her is journaling, the quiet time, the aloneness. Like that is the foundation of everything. And one of the things I just freaking love about your work, Amie, is you don't hide away from the fact that art is fierce, creativity is healing, and it's not just therapeutic for us, but it's therapeutic for the world. And so it seems like artsy, fartsy, sweet, whatever, but actually it's really badass and it's fierce and it's strong and it's something that this world needs. And I think I know a lot of artists struggle with seeing this as something that is a form of leadership.
Yes, fuck yes, I love that. Art is leadership. Art is political, it is powerful, it is transformative, it is revolutionary. I think so often we're told the story that it is none of that it is self-indulgent, that it's like decorative, that it's something kids do, that's something maybe the elderly might do in their retirement. And we don't understand that creativity is a missing pillar in self-development, and it's also a missing pillar in healing and in changing our world. It is such a powerful fucking force, and we do not acknowledge it societally. We do not acknowledge it culturally. And I really want that to shift. I really want us to, because I feel like we're missing something. Like we're not tapping into this huge power. We're not understanding the power that we yield as creatives. There's amazing amounts of evidence that have come out recently about the incredible, first of all, like physical impacts that art has on our bodies, both when we create it and when we consume it. It's literally healing, Heather. Like it has incredible impacts on our actual biological body. We have a huge amount of evidence about what it does to our minds. Yeah, we've got fucking cool experiments that look at PTSD and dance, like color and our heart rhythms. Like art impacts us, it impacts our bodies, and it fucking impacts our communities. There's a really cool researcher called Dr. Jackson, and she works in communities that are disadvantaged, and she just brings art to them. And she says, yeah, I know we've got to look at like health and schooling and all this stuff, but like art does maybe even more than like bringing good schooling and good healthcare into systems. Like art, bringing whole cultures back to their creativity changes our communities. And again, no one's really talking about it. It's not as frivolous as I think we think it is.
Yeah. When I hear you say there's the missing piece in personal development is creativity, this is what I'm hearing. And I want you to fill in the gaps and tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, but there's such a masculine vibe to personal development. You better get up at 4 a.m. and you drink your green juice, and then you go outside, and then you sit in the grass, and then you do your journaling, and then you work out, and then it's to 5-year plans. And it's just, and not shading, because it honestly saved my life at one point, being able to have structure, because I didn't have structure growing up. But then you got to get so much into that you lose spirit, heart, and some of the mystical and magical pieces of what it means to be a human. And that's where the creativity comes in. And that's what I'm hearing. But that's through Heather's experience and my own personal lens. I'm curious what you mean by self-development. It's the missing piece.
Oh, I love that. And I think it's going to be different for everyone as to what creativity does for us. But when I look at like the classic, I think I am on the same page as you, Heather. When I look at like the classic, what self-development looks like in today's like rhetoric, we're looking at ice baths, meditation, what's the physical stuff, like exercise, even journaling is becoming much more mainstream. We talk about all these things and it's, okay, what's your day structured like? Like how early are you getting up? What are you prioritizing? And art's never fucking mentioned. Our expression is never fucking mentioned. And I'm like, why are we doing all this stuff to like get ourselves ready? And we're not creating, we're not making. Humans are here to create. It's such an innate thing that we just do and we feel called to do. And it's a part of us feeling good about ourselves. It's a part of us understanding ourselves. It's a part of us understanding the environment we're in. It's meditative. It is, as I think you say, it leans towards that feminine expression. It's spiritual. It's holy. And yet no one talks about it as like a crucial part of how we develop as humans, is how we come home to ourselves as humans. It's, again, I still feel strongly that when I tell people, and it's why I still have issues telling people what I do, when I tell people I'm an artist or an author, people think either that I'm poor or struggling or I'm delusional or the story isn't there. When I say I'm committed to art, I'm saying that I'm committed to changing myself and changing the world. Like it's such a serious fucking profession.
I just got chills. Damn. All right, let's go deep. Are you ready? This is the thing. When we talk about this, it being there's a spiritual component to it. There's a healing component. There's something that just transcends us. And there's just a bigger work that is being done when we step into the role of the artist and unapologetically create. That's so tied to healing and spirituality. And it feels key to say, this is my job and I'm going to charge you for it. In fact, Amie, I had somebody tell me the other day, a client, they said, is it wrong for me to charge for healing? You said, I wrote this freaking down and this just blew my freaking mind. I've never heard anyone say this before. You said trading money for art is anti-capitalist.
Yeah. Should we get into it?
Just go.
It's always better when I have my economist husband here for this one, because we can get nitty gritty. And he doesn't like it when he lets me go on my own, because I speak to it much more holistically than he does, where he speaks to it economically. But I think trading art for money isn't necessarily capitalistic. I think we have a very simple view of what capitalism is, and we think it's like, oh, it's just the exchanging of goods for money. We've been exchanging goods for money for like way before capitalism. Like exchange, it's a value exchange. And it doesn't need to be icky. It doesn't need to be a part of these huge structures of oppression and we need to change the story, because I'm so tired of artists going poor, not being rewarded because they think they are dirtying themselves and their art because they get what they fucking deserve, which they deserve to be paid. You made something beautiful, you put it in the world, and someone else wants to pay you for it. Let the value exchange happen. Someone paying you for your art, especially in a crafts person, we need to take out like the Amazon and like the bigger, when we get caught up into the bigger systems, it does get more complicated, because I think we are engaging with systems of capitalism. But when some fucking beautiful artist paints a picture of a rabbit and then sells it to someone, that is not capitalism. That is a beautiful value exchange. And it is not fucking gross. It is holy. And I need artists to start shifting the way they're looking at this.
Why do you get so lit up about this topic?
I get so lit up. I get so pissed for us. I get so fucking, I feel very emotional about it, Heather. Like, why is everyone else allowed to get paid for their work? Yeah. You know, an accountant who's like filling out an Excel spreadsheet, doing their work, is not thinking, do I deserve to be paid for this service? Mm-hmm. Why is it that when we do something like art, when we write our books, when we paint our pictures, why are we suddenly like thinking, oh my God, this can't be worth money? It's so gross. And I just feel the weight of like hundreds and hundreds of years of stories about why I feel like we've been kept down, and there have been systems here that are trying to keep artists small and trying to keep us poor. Because I think at the end of the day, artists are revolutionaries. We're a part of a bigger rebellion, and I think systems have known that. And I feel like these cultural stories are there to very purposefully keep us small and poor. And so when people get purist around art and whether it should be exchanged for money, I just cannot handle it. I'm almost not good at speaking about it still, because my fire gets so like crackly and I'm just like, shut the fuck up. No, it's not dirty. It is beautiful. Your art is worth money. It is worth something. Let people fucking pay you for it.
If you think about the implications of what you just said, if art really is healing, and if it really is the medicine that this world needs, and if it really is as important as you claimed earlier, wouldn't it be interesting if there was a system set up, just like you said, to keep it small and keep them poor because it mutes the voices? And I had never thought about that before.
I think about, and it's changing. We're in a space that's changing for creatives right now. When I think about what's happened for artists over centuries and centuries, they've always been kept in a system where someone who is more powerful makes sure they can't go too far. We've had patronages, we've had gatekeepers. Even if you look at Amazon, there's this book out right now called Choke Point Capitalism, and it looks at how all of these systems, all of them, are there to keep the artists small and poor. When you look at the writers' strikes and these big film institutions, they do not want the artist to have any control. They want control. And so we're working against huge systemic problems that are there to try and keep us poor. And so when another artist says, I don't think my art is worth anything, I think it would tarnish my art to sell it, I'm like, fuck, you've fallen for it. And you're worth so much fucking money. And I just, that's, I think, where I'm like, I just got this like rage. Let's fucking go. Like, we deserve to be paid. This world doesn't function without art. We need it.
Yeah.
We bring so much value. We bring so much monetary value to the system. If you really look at like how much money we bring into the economy, it's fucking loads, and we don't see any of it because these bigger systems are extracting it. So when I say art, so that selling art is anti-capitalist, when I'm looking at those smaller transactions where the artist gets all the fucking money, that's fucking anti-capitalist. When we exclude Amazon, when we exclude the big businesses and we just say, here's my art, and someone else pays you for it, I think that's a really revolutionary thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm not judging anyone. I have my books on Amazon. Like, the systems are hard to avoid. I do have this like real fight in me. It's let's fucking go. Get fucking paid.
Yeah. You said, I'm paraphrasing here, something along the lines in another interview about kind of the rising of the middle class artists. And I just got freaking chills when you said that. It's this idea there's two extremes. It's, oh, you're poor and you're broke and you're not able to do your stuff. And then there's this other movement. I don't even know what to call it, but it's just like this. If you talk to me, it's $5,000. You know, like, it's really weird and it feels a little off. And I'm all about money and I want to get paid and I want everybody to have enough. But also, too, it's this weird extremism between, like, you know, what it means to have access to somebody. I love the way you explain, like, the middle-class artist. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, this is what I want. I want the rise of the middle-class artist, because we have been sold this binary. You're either so poor or you're Taylor Swift. And so we're either striving for this ridiculous, like, unnecessary amount of wealth and fame, or we're poor. And this is just, first of all, a fiction. There are so many, you can be an artist and you can have a great living. And I want more and more of us to recognize that and to claim it for our own. I think with this connection economy, with the internet, with social media, we are having an uprising of artists who do not need gatekeepers. They do not need permission from anyone. They don't need a streaming software or Amazon. They don't need people. They can platform their own art on their own website and make their own money without a lot of it being robbed. And there are ways to take up space without permission now. which is growing this middle class artistry.
Yeah.
And this is what I want more and more of. And I want artists to recognize that we don't need to see our choices as a binary. There's beautiful, sustainable ways to live as an artist. And it's not, I think the story we're sold is, oh, you want to be a singer. So you're going to be the next Taylor Swift. It's no, I'm going to be a singer. I'm going to be a fucking comfortable person who has to be able to pay my bills, able to live a lovely life. We don't need to strive for these extra. And again, I think it's a story that keeps us really small. Because can't all be Taylor Swift. But that doesn't mean we can't all be singers and make money from writing music and performing.
That's it. What would you say to this? I got an email the other day. Artist does watercolor and no one's buying it. You know what I mean? It's out there. She's putting it out there. She's making it. She's doing this stuff. It's that narrative that comes in of this isn't worth anything. And then you have the quote, physical evidence that people don't want it. Cool. And if you're listening on this audio, it's quote because people aren't buying it. So how do you combat when the physical quote proof is there that people are not wanting it because they're literally not buying it from you?
You haven't found your people. I get into a lot of more controversial conversations with artists who do not want to market their art. They do not want to take up space as a business person in their artistry. Whereas I see being an artist is we have to champion our art. If we want to be an artist, then we are going to be the one that champions our art. We're going to be the one that backs it, markets it. That's part of the job that we have. A lot of artists really struggle with that. But I think that conversation has to come into play when we look at this. I'm putting my watercolors out there. No one is buying that. I'm doing good. I'm sharing it regularly. And then we have to come into this other side of our artistry, which is, okay, if something's not working, you're not finding your people. Your people are out there, but we've got to look at why you're not accessing them. And this is an incredibly creative part of the journey. People will refuse to see it that way. They think, oh no, I need a marketing degree. No, you don't. You're an artist. You're a brilliant fucking storyteller and you're good at connecting with people. We just need to start looking at what's happening. Who are you speaking to? Do we need to change the way you're sharing? We need to get strategic and creative. And I think a lot of people get worried that their art is wrong without recognizing that maybe the way you're sharing it needs to change. Maybe the way you're putting yourself out there needs to change because you just haven't found your people yet. You have evidence that the 200 people following you on Instagram don't want to buy your watercolors, but there are fucking 8 billion of us, 9 billion of us, and you haven't tried all of us yet. Come on.
I love you just said we have to get strategic and creative when we think, because when I think about marketing and strategy and all that, it feels restrictive as opposed to a creative invitation.
Yeah, invitation to do whatever the fuck you want to do, Heather. Excuse me, I'm a little cold. I think we've been taught that marketing is so rigid. There's only one way to do it. Marketing is art, and you will have a way of doing it that is entirely unique to you. And we get to do it however the fuck we want. Please break every marketing rule you've ever heard because there is no one way to do this. And I think artists just feel so constrained by rules, and artists hate to be constrained by rules. And so we say, no, I can't market it. I just want someone else to do it. It's why the allure of the gatekeeper is so strong, because the gatekeeper promises that they'll market our art, even though most of the time they don't. But the thing is that you're going to be the best marketer for your art. And a lot of people want to fight me on that, but I really believe it. Because you already know how to, your art already connects with people in a beautiful way. So how can you use that and alchemize it into marketing?
What's something you've done that was F this system, this isn't necessarily the best marketing tactic, but I want to do it?
Oh, that's such a good question, Heather. Let's have a think. We've used a lot of failures as a way to market. Absolute fucking bomb of a launch. I can't remember what it's for. I think it was for a course. Everything went wrong.
That. Can we just stop there? Just say thank you for that, because who hasn't? But who says that?
Yeah, I make it a practice to talk a lot about my failures, and I'm so grateful for them. They do fucking hurt, and I'm a big crier. I cried about that launch. It fucking sucked.
I cried this morning. I cry every day. It's all,
baby.
Come on.
That's what we need to do. So that launch we used, I was like, fuck, it was so frustrating. And then we made a load of content, and we went for the comedy around the worst. We called it the worst launch ever. And we made a load of content about it. We just flipped it into the learning space, invited people to talk about their own failures, and just created a space of vulnerability and sharing. And then we relaunched it, and it did so much better. People were in on the story. They were in on the game. And that was a marketer would have been no, keep it quiet. Don't talk about it. You can't don't share your failures. But me and my partner, we said, fuck it. Let's just lean in. Let's lean in hard.
I freaking love that. You have a program, Selling Without Selling Out. And one of your bullet points on this is in regards to marketing. It just made me laugh. It said, I want you feeling like Zuckerberg needs you and you do not need Zuck. I'm curious.
Zuckerberg does need you.
Tell me more. What you mean?
I think we all feel, and it's very valid, a slave to the algorithm. And we think, oh my God, if that Mark Zuckerberg just knew me, if he was on my side and he could get the algorithm to work, then I'd be all good. And we feel this very huge power dynamic between the algorithm, the social media platforms, and the little artist. We lose a lot of power. And to me, it reflects a lot of the power dynamics that we see in gatekeeping institutions, a producer and a singer, a publisher and an author. Would you please just let me do something? Like, I want you to look at my work. Please, can you pick me? And I'm feeling the same dynamic happening on social media now, where people just feel, oh my God, but I fucking fingers crossed hope that Instagram will like me today. And I need artists to understand that these platforms will be fucking nothing without you. Yeah. And I want you to understand that the power does sit with you. I know it doesn't feel that way, but the world can't have artists feeling powerless. And so we need to understand that these fucking apps would be nothing without the artists and the content creators that literally make their platforms relevant. Same with Netflix. These fucking boardrooms of boring people would be nothing without the creators that are making the fucking content for them. And yet the actors and the producers and the directors, like, they don't feel worthy. Like, creators need to reclaim that power and understand that they need us. They need us. They've just created a very convincing story that makes us feel very powerless. And I know that there are very real problems within these power dynamics and it isn't fair, but I need the artist to understand that it's you. You're the one with the fucking power. You're the one that makes stuff. They're just sitting in a fucking office manipulating us, essentially.
I see this person in front of me right now is just like shrinking. And when you're starting off and you're putting your work out there, like internally, you might just feel small and shrunk. And hearing someone like you who has a lot of confidence and takes up space and has done a lot of work over these past few years to get to where you're at, there's such a dissonance between how I want to feel and how I currently feel. And maybe I want to be more like Amie and take up space and F the system, but I'm just going to make what I want to make and so forth. But the steps getting there is a little tricky. And I'm curious your kind of guide on those first few steps of, man, I want to take up space like she's saying. I want to believe this in my bones. But for 40 years, I've had a shrunken spirit inside of me. How do I grow her?
Yeah, fucking beautiful question. I speak big game and I'm using words like revolution and rebellion and taking up space. And these words are big, but the way we get there is very small.
Totally.
And all I've ever done is take baby steps. All I've ever done is take baby steps. My first post on Inspired to Write, my Instagram platform that essentially launched my career, was a picture of a rabbit. Someone had drawn this really cute picture of a rabbit. And I just wrote, what inspires you to write? And I posted it. And I had every fucking person I could ever imagine blocked from that space, including my partner, my mum, anyone from high school. Everyone was blocked from my space. I'd made a safe space for myself. And I posted a fucking picture of a rabbit and said, what inspires you to write? And that, I owe everything to that baby step that was taken. Everything. Yeah. And she just decided to be a little bit brave one day. And I owe everything to her. And so we just got to be a little bit brave each day. Just a little bit. And that will look different on a day-to-day basis. But follow that curiosity. How could it be a little bit brave today? How could I take up space in a tiny little way today? And put in place protections that, for me, it was blocking everyone I knew. Maybe it's, don't speak about it to some people. Like, make sure you won't ever feel real safe. Like, you're not going to feel safe because taking up space is vulnerable and is scary. It doesn't need to be super hard. Just be a little bit brave each day. And that is it. You don't need to increase it. That's it. That's the journey.
Amie, you've picked up quite a bit of traction. And I know you're just getting started on your journey. The gates are just opening up for you, honestly. And I'm curious with your passion, groundedness, and fighting for the everyday artist, the middle-class artist, the one that feels unseen, the one who's making their watercolor bunnies and no one's buying them. That's why we all relate to you, and that's where your community's at. And I'm curious, I'm very visual. I see you with one foot over here where you're standing here with the with the artist who's just getting started, who needs that little bit of encouragement. And then I also see over here the recognition that you're starting to get in the rooms that you're getting in and the stages you're going to be on, and the influence, the mass influence that you have and are stepping into, and waiting that line of keeping the heartbeat of the independent artist and groundedness in that, while managing the opportunities that are coming your way. How are you wrestling with that now?
God, Heather, you're incredibly intuitive, and that's a beautiful question, and something that I've definitely been sitting with for especially this past year. I think something that I sink into frequently is that being an artist and committing to creativity means that you will regularly feel like a beginner over and over again.
Totally.
And so I'm making sure that I don't really like the word humble, because I think I don't really have an interest in being humble, but I'm in some ways humbled by the creative process, in terms of there are always things that will make me go, oh my God, I'm a fucking baby again. I'm so vulnerable again. I start again. And so I feel very attached to that feeling of vulnerability, which connects me back to what it feels like when I began. Yeah. And I never want to lose that. I never want to be so stuck in my ways or doing the same thing over and over again that I haven't felt fucking like a naked little baby standing in front of everyone. I want that feeling to be present in my life throughout my whole creative career. That vulnerability, that like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. And so I invite that feeling into my life regularly. Again, I'm a tiny bit brave all the time. And as I develop in my career, a tiny bit brave looks a bit different from time to time. Sometimes a tiny bit brave means standing up in front of several thousand people, where, that's my tiny bit brave for the day. Whereas before it was posting my picture of a bunny on Instagram, and my tiny bit brave is changing as my career develops. But the feeling is the same. And I really want to hold on to that, and to make sure that people understand that no matter where it is on your journey, the vulnerability hits the same. Like, we're still fucking humans, and the vulnerability is still, I don't know, just so potent wherever it is that you are on this beautiful creative path.
Where do you get guidance from?
I'm very fortunate to work with my partner, James. He's also an author, and we run this business together, and we talk a lot. And we hold each other's hands through a lot of stuff, and it's just a lot of talking. It's talking through it, like gaming things out, like those creatives. There's a lot of, what if we did this? What if I'm feeling like this? And I'm very grateful to have a creative collaborator in that. And so whilst I don't know if it's the right term as guidance, I don't know what I'd do without him. I'm so blessed to have that kind of partnership.
That's so cool. You ready for some listener questions?
So fucking ready.
Let's go. I know someone asked, I'm going to start with this one. Brad asked, can you unpack, he says your latest post, this was from a little while ago, but the niche that you're not niche.
Oh yeah, of course. Fuck the niche.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah. So my post is, fuck the niche, you are the niche. Artists are constantly told to niche down. Specialize, specialize, specialize. That's the way you market. That's the way you're going to find your community. Like, you can't be too broad. And I felt like most artists I know are multidisciplinary. Like, we don't just have one thing to give. I'm a podcaster, I'm a speaker, I write fiction, I write historical fiction, I write sci-fi, there's so many facets of me. I'm a fucking human being, and I don't want to niche down. And so this invitation is to retell that story. We're seeing a lot of like research and new conversations around the fact that niching and specializing actually isn't what's best, even if we're looking about obtaining mastery. There's a really cool book called Range by David Epstein, and he looks at how, especially for the arts, specialization ain't how you get good. Go, play, enjoy other things. We get good by being in a multitude of different fields. That's how we get good. Art's too multifaceted and complex for specialization to really work. So even if we're looking at obtaining mastery, fuck niching down. Go enjoy your life, dabble, play. It makes us a better artist. I always like, I'm becoming a better writer right now as I do this podcast with you. I'm becoming a better writer as I, shop and buy my gluten-free pasta. Being an artist means experiencing life wholly. And so when we niche, I think we lose a lot of that magic, and we lose a lot of what we can give. I also think, talking in very strategic and practical terms, because of the day that we live in, because we have this ability to have social media and to access people without permission, people can fall in love with the artist, not necessarily the art. This is just a very strategic way of marketing wise, like make people obsessed with you rather than your fine line art prints. If you do fine line art prints and then you release a song, they don't care because they just want what Heather makes. Whatever it is you do, they want a piece of it. And so we have a lot more wiggle room, I think, to make you be the niche. They're just obsessed with whatever the fuck you are doing. And they want a piece of that rather than only knowing you for X, Y, and Z.
Okay, here's a tactical question with that. So I think about, earlier we talked about the artist who people aren't buying her work, and you said where people haven't found you yet. So tactically, when I think about somebody finding me, I'm going to have certain keywords like line artist or this or that. And so if we're having our audience fall in love with us, how do they find us?
So I think a lot of people find this hard because they don't like the idea of sharing like your essence. Some people don't want to show their face. Some people don't want to talk online. But for me, I think like giving that a little bit more of that personality. So when they see your fine art, they also see a little bit of you, or you commentated over it. And yeah, they're interested in your fine art, but they're also like, maybe you get them in with your fine art, but they've also, oh, she's got a quirky way of speaking, or I really like the way she does her hair, or she's
her country accent.
Her country accent. Like, I've got to have more of that. Yeah. And allowing us to be seen is incredibly vulnerable. But the art, being allowed to like have the artist be seen is not something we've ever had before historically. People didn't know Michelangelo. Like they didn't know who he was, so he didn't have a brand. But now we are able to like have people know us in a certain way. And so for me, I think that just gives us more space to do more art. I find I'm most well known for my nonfiction, but I sung my fiction beautifully because people want a bit of Amie.
That's it. All right, we have Leif here who said, what is the best firsthand success story of people selling their art and their products on social? Is there anybody in your community that stands out, or any success stories of using social to sell their art? What can we learn from that?
Yeah, there's loads. I have something that I really love talking about is artists who don't have huge followings who do really well because they have just 2,000, 3,000. I'm thinking of one creative in particular who has, I think she may even have less than 2,000 followers, but they're fucking there for her. She's created her true fans and they want a piece of that. And I think we are very obsessed with the numbers game, but what she does so well is like every single follower she gets, this is a relationship. You come to my page, we're going to get to know each other. And it's a real community feel. I'm the artist and you want to be here, like in my house kind of vibes. Or I'll be getting to know you. And so she does incredibly well for herself with a comparatively, in inverted commas, like low amount of followers online because she puts so much effort into building those relationships. And I love seeing that.
Life real quick. Are you talking like she's sliding her DMs and stuff? What is she doing to build that real strong?
She's talking a lot. I don't necessarily know if she does a huge amount of work in their DMs, but comments, engagement. And I think a lot of, what are you doing? Like engaging in their work, like building these relationships. And this isn't necessarily for everyone, but I love watching it work for her. And I think she builds a lot of her content around having conversations. So when she puts stuff out there, people respond and then she responds. So it doesn't just one and done. The conversation keeps happening, which I really love. And it's something I feel like I really want to lean into as well. Like instead of using these apps as like a quick dopamine hit, let's actually talk. I want to hear your opinion. I think having a two-way relationship online is interesting. She's actually saying, I actually want to hear from you and I want to talk to you about stuff.
Totally.
And I love what she's done. She has a full-time income from that.
How do you, with the thousands of comments that you get, manage those? I know you can't respond to everybody. So how do you keep that personal vibe when you have so much? Because you could just be sitting all day long responding to people.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't hold myself to any standard in terms of comments. If I have the energy, I'll go in and I'll be with people there. And same with my DMs, is I will spend time there each day, but I can't get back to everyone, and I give myself grace for that. That's just where I'm at on this journey. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like I'm not sure entirely how I've done it, but there's something about the way that I write and the content that I create that builds relationships, and it doesn't require me to follow up. And that's interesting.
Seth Godin's book, Tribes.
Yeah, read everything that baby boy has written. I love that man.
His whole definition of a real community is when relationships can be built without the leader there. So you've created an environment where people communicate with each other. That's community.
It's beautiful. I see that a lot in my Inspired Collective, which is like we have a class each week. They take care of each other. And watching them do that is the most beautiful fucking thing. And I get my comment section as well. Those are my favorite comment sections where I'm like, sometimes I'll be like, tell me what you're doing. What are you up to? And then everyone just is in awe of each other in the comment section. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is cool. And I think everyone, I've been so blessed with the community I've built because everyone is there because they want to fucking make stuff and they need support on that very vulnerable journey. And so, yeah, they do care for each other in that. And I'm so grateful that that's a space that I have.
I'll just take this last one right here. Rory asked, is it a good strategy to focus on the craft itself and make money as a byproduct? And his follow-up thing was saying, does trying to monetize your art actually stifle your creativity?
This is a very individual question.
Yeah.
For me, if it makes me, I thrive. It doesn't taint it. It doesn't ruin it. It makes me incredibly excited. It gamifies it for me. I strive on making money with my art. For some people, the pressure may be too much and you don't like it. You've got to figure out what's going to work for you. Though I love to make money with my art, I am also deeply process driven. Yeah. I'm not thinking about the money I'm making from my book when I sit and write my 500 words each day. Right. That's just my job. I just show up and I do it. I'm very workmanlike in the way that I show up for my writing. And I do have a bizarre detachment, I think, from like the actual creation process and the money-making process. But everyone is so unique and we need to figure out what works for us. If the pressure of money is too much, then you need to figure out a way that's going to work for you because we do need to protect our art. And I do hear from a lot of creatives who have found that monetizing their art has robbed them of their joy. And that doesn't mean that you can never make money with your art. It just means you need to navigate it in a slightly different way.
And there's a fine line, though, between saying, I'm being stifled by this. This is not for me, like putting the money and the art together. And then also that just being insecurity. And I'm telling myself that this is not just my personality and it stifles me.
Oh, yeah. And it's hard for me to find where that line is for people. Yeah. Because there is a line and it is real. And a lot of people will use it as an excuse because it's fucking scary trying to make art and ask for money in return. So yeah, it's a serious question that you seriously have to look at. But what I want to say is that you deserve money for your art. Your art brings value to the world, and so you deserve to be paid for that. And how you figure that out, how you make that work, is up to you. But I fucking hope you do make it work.
What's your vision from here?
My publishing team, I've got a new book coming out next year called We Need Your Art. My publishing team, I had my first ever marketing call with them all. And that's exactly the question.
How exciting.
It was exciting. And they were like, what? And I think actually what they asked, what do you want? What do you want the book to do from here? And I was like, it took me a few beats. And then I was like, I just want people to make more art. Yeah. It's like simple.
Yeah.
I want my book to mean that there's more art in the world. I want more art in the world. And more than that, I want people to fucking realize how deeply serious creativity is. It's also silly and very playful, but this work that artists do, this is serious, beautiful, divine, holy, incredibly fucking important, economically valuable, profound work. And I'm so tired of artists and non-artists disregarding creativity as some sort of frivolity. It is fucking serious, and I want us to take it seriously.
I was telling, when I left the Elizabeth Gilbert retreat last weekend, I came back and I was talking to my husband, and I'm like, I just wish I knew her. I wish I knew these people. And I named off some other names who are older than me and have been doing the work for a long time. And he said, Heather, do you not realize that the next this and the next that are sitting right beside you? This next generation of thought leaders, this next generation of artists who are really going to make the hugest impact in this world. And when I was doing research on you, I kept thinking about that over and again. I'm like, you've already done incredible work, Amie. It's unbelievable. But I just can see the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years for you. And it's just unbelievable the lives that you're going to touch. It has been an honor. I have one final question for you. To get to meet you in real life on Zoom, and you took time away from your family and your travel to speak with us today. So thank you for that. I want everybody listening to go pre-order her book right now. It comes out in March, but you know the way Amazon works, if you pre-order it, it bumps it up in the book gods somehow. I don't know how all that shit works. But Amie, tell us where people can do that and if there's any other action that you want people to take.
The biggest blessing for me right now is those pre-sales. It is bizarre. What a bizarre world publishing. Very odd. But yeah, basically what happens is if you pre-order my book, all of those sales, like they get all clumped together, and then on release day, all those sales go through. And when you pre-order my book, you are part of making that big release day like a big day for me. And if we can gather a good handful, it can mean putting me on the charts. And it means the book is seen more. So that's what you do when you pre-order an author's book. That's what you're doing for them. And I'm really fucking grateful. So yeah, we need your art. You can pre-order it from anywhere. I'm so excited for you to read it. She's my little creativity Bible that I wrote. Thank you for seeing me, Heather. I feel your words before really touched me, and I feel incredibly seen and incredibly loved. And I'm so grateful for you.
We are. And y'all, Christmas is coming up. This would be a fantastic gift for the artist in your life. Link is up in the show notes. Very last question for you, Amie. I always ask folks at the very end, what is something that they are, Brian tells me this is a terrible question, but I like it. What is something you're deeply questioning right now in your life? I'm not talking about something you have figured out. I'm not talking about something you have a hypothesis for. I'm talking about something that you were like, I have no idea what the answer to this is. Now, this could be small and trivial. It could be something big ass.
Banging question. Brian has no clue. This is a banging question. I love it. I love questioning. Oh, that's beautiful. You know what? You actually really brought up a big one for me when you said straddling this line between being a beginner and moving further on in my career. That's something I'm really grappling with. So you really hit something there for me. And I'm really grateful for you bringing it up, because it is something that I don't know how I'm going to navigate that in my further journey. But what else? There's so much shit I don't know, Heather. The amount of times that I've come across live and I'm talking to James, I'm like, I don't know. This is crazy. There's so much stuff to figure out in this world. Oh my God. I wish you prepped me. I'd find out I'd blow.
I don't. Folks will say, hey, can you send your questions in advance? I'm like, no, because...
No, it's nice. It's fresh.
It's so real. It's so real. Yeah. I love that you're thinking about it.
I really am. I think I am just going to sit with this idea of this is how I've built my career, is by speaking to creatives who are struggling, especially at the beginning, because I was beginning and navigating how hard it is to start and how hard it is to finish your first project. And that was my journey. And now I'm, definitely moving on a little bit in that journey. And like, how do I still make sure that I'm supporting creatives in that earlier stage of their career? Because the further I move from it, I worry that people will almost set me apart, or feel that I don't understand, or feel that I can't speak to that. And it's something I worry about, and I'm not sure how I'm going to navigate that. And it's an interesting one, and I'm excited to ponder it. It doesn't frighten me, but it is something I need to sit with, to think about what's going to happen as life moves forward.
You are just a gift to this world. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing the work unseen, all the unseen work and the seen work. I'm so excited for your book coming out in March. We'll make sure it's linked up in the show notes. And y'all give her a follow. Y'all go over here and follow, even though I know you probably already are. Amie, it was a joy getting to meet you. Thanks for your time.
Heather, so grateful.